Hello students, and welcome to this class of Sociology of Religion. Well, today I'm going to take you to the introduction to religion, and I'm for sure at the end of this you will definitely having an understanding of what is religion and how we can define it. What are the main elements that make up religion is something that we're going to focus today. So let's have a look at this. As you see here, these are some images of people, and the image at the right side is a person joining his hands, whereas the image at the left side is a gathering of people in a space. So both of these are something to do with religion. Let's go further, and here you see some symbols of religion. You will see like there are different symbols to religion. There are different objects that are used to talk about a given religion. Going further, you shall see that there are also structures. These structures are spaces that are demarcated as the sacred, and over here people come and do their rituals and practices in a community. Going further, this brings us to the question of what is religion, and it takes us to the etymology of the word religion. It comes from religare. It's a Latin root. Re plus ligare means again combined with to bind, meaning to tie fast. And religia, it's an obligation or a bond. And religion is an old French word that has been used to depict about religion. So religion has its roots in these words, which mean in a way combining and joining and doing certain duties and obligations. Now Gary Comstock talks about it as a part of some people's life which involves rituals and beliefs, organizations, ethical values, historical traditions, and personal habits or choices, and some of which refer to the transcendent. Transcendent means basically with the divine, with the supernatural, and all of these are related to the supernatural. Going further, you will see that Monsieur Eliot talks about this demarcation between the sacred and the profane. Of course, we have a great sociologist by name of Emile Durkheim, who also talks about the significance of the sacred and the profane in the idea of religion. So the sacred always manifests itself as a reality of a wholly different order from the natural realities. And therefore the sacred is something that is set apart for worship of a deity or a worship or worthy worship of something. And the profane is the non-religious, the everyday thing that happen in our day-to-day life. And this in turn gives us an idea of the divine, because the sacred is based on the belief, and this takes us to the idea of the divine, to which we may form certain rituals and practices which come to define the idea of religion. Going further, this takes us to the central thing for today here, and that's Ninian Smart, who talks about the 7 dimensions of religion. So Smart does not provide a definition, but of course these 7 dimensions gives us enough of clue as to what it is that makes religion. What's it that we can say are the sure aspects or elements that would make a religion. And thus, let me take you to these 7 dimensions, elements or characteristic features of religion. The first, according to him, is the practical or the ritual. This practical or ritual refers to the practice, the things that people do in the context of their religious belief. This could be formal or informal. We could be doing something in the form of a practice or ritual, which may be formal, based on a certain space, like a church, a mosque, or a temple, and in those spaces we'll be doing some practice or rituals that are very formal in nature. Whereas there are certain spaces which are related maybe to our homes or some other open spaces where we still do practices and rituals, but these are done in a very informal manner without any set rules or regulations of how we need to be doing these rituals or practices. Going further, and that is why, before that, let me tell you that every religion, according to him, has this element in it. Going further, we see the dimension of experiential or emotional. We see that, according to him, every religion has the experiential or the emotional aspect. Means we, as human beings, tend to experience the divine. We tend to experience some relationship with a force, and this relationship with a force, based on our experience, makes us emotional, makes us attached to it, makes us have a feeling of dedication, of devotion, of owning such an experience, and therefore we might be emotional. And every religion, therefore, has such an element in its form. Next we see is the aspect of the narrative. Here, according to Ninian Smart, every religion would tell you a story, would tell you something to do with our existence. Accounts of creation of the world, cosmogony, and eschatology, which means accounts of belief about the end of the world. So every religion gives us a dimension, gives us some sort of a perspective towards the idea of the world, the creation of the universe, some of these fundamental questions of the existence of human beings, as every little human, or you can say other types of beings that exist. Our religion will be providing some form of a narrative, some stories which are sometimes called as myths, but these are believed by the people, and thus they give us a clarity towards the end goal of our existence. Next we see that every religion has a doctrinal or a philosophical dimension, which means that there are religions that provide us with certain truths and certain principles. These cannot be challenged, but have to be just accepted the way they are. Like the doctrine of the triunion God in Christianity, the doctrine of one God in Islam, the doctrine of the Trimurti in Hinduism. So there are doctrines like these. These are absolute truths which you ought to believe in. Next we see is the ethical or the legal dimension. Here, according to Ninian Smart, every religion provides us with certain idea of ethics. In other words, how we ought to live our lives. And these are rules and regulations which tell us that if we live a life like this, then we are heading towards another realm of our existence. Some people call that realm as heaven, and some call it as hell, and so on. And this is based on how we live our life. So the ethical gives us a sense of what is right and wrong. And every religion has this dimension in it. Whether it is Christianity, whether it is Islam, whether it is Hinduism, whether it's Jainism, whether it's Buddhism, whether it's Zoroastrianism, whether it is Shintoism, and so on, you'll find that every religion prescribes a certain way of life that is ethically correct for the existence of one fellow being. Lastly, this takes us to another dimension called as the social and the institutional dimension. Every religion has a social aspect to it, that is a collection of people. Without a collection of people, no religion can ever exist, because it is the community that defines the idea of religion. It is the collective conscience that makes religion possible. And you'll see the social or the institutional, the social, the collection of people come up with the creation of institutions that become the governing bodies of religion, and thus the institutions promote the religion and also try to reach out to as many people and form the community and make the community stronger. last but not the least, is the material dimension. Every religion has certain elements of materialism in it, because you see that the divine is sometimes very abstract, and this divine which is abstract, which cannot be touched and felt easily, is sometimes personified in the form of objects, in the form of artifacts, buildings, art, music, symbols, and sometimes even in the form of the natural world. So we tend to worship sometimes nature, and we give a form to the divine in the form of nature as well. So this takes us to the question of why do religions exist? Now, religion helps us deal with a variety of human needs. It gives us a way to think about our own morality, mortality. It helps us to provide us with security in the insecure world. It organizes us socially. It assists the poorest and the weakest with the idea of how to survive. And it stimulates artistic production. So these are all the reasons that you'll find. And according to Sigmund Freud, religion is about projecting our childhood experiences with our parents onto gods or gods. Carl Jung says that it's an individual personal fulfillment, is the symbols particularly that are important for our survival. So this takes us to the last thing, that's the key terms that we need to remember when we're talking about religion. It's theistic, monoistic, polytheistic, monistic, atheism, and agnosticism. So I would like you to go to these as when you get time. And with this, I think we'll wind up for today. And I hope you have made the best towards the 7 dimensions of religion, as well as the idea of religion very broadly as per our understanding here. So thank you so much.